This is why war will never end on Earth. There are trillions of people on Earth. All these people are part of a universal school, where absolutely everyone is put to various tests. Humans themselves are not aware of this, but they belong to one and the same system. In the system, it's about learning, and the tests are different from life to life. But all people are at different levels of development. And because all people are on different levels, you will find that there are only few with whom you communicate really well. If you think of life as a part of a universal school, where there is no beginning and no end, just as the universe is built. Every life counts. You can learn something from every single person you meet. You can learn something from every single situation you experience. And that is exactly what is meant. To experience good things like sitting on power or being rich is a test you are put on. As much as not having power, being poor, or facing more difficulties than others. These are just tests. You have decided all the tests before you were born, and you have decided this based on what you need to learn. We'll talk more about this later. This is a separate system that has to do with reincarnation. As humans are on different levels, they will reside in different circles. The poor do not mix with the rich, and the people themselves have created different statuses. But in the soul world, status does not exist. It's all about levels of understanding, levels of what one has learned. There is no spiritual status. Your soul lives on. Your body dies. Your body dies from life to life. But what you have learned, you take with you further. And it's only learning that counts. So whether you learn or what you learn from everything that happens to you is what counts your level. And this also decides how many lives you have to live. On Earth, you have created a system of status, and you see a doctor as one who has a higher status than a man who lives on the street. And you think that a lawyer has a higher status than a poor child in Africa. This is not correct. In the spiritual world, there is no status. You all have the same value. No one has more value than others. And the only thing that counts in the universal school you go to is what you learn from what happens to you. Not everyone learns from their mistakes or from the opportunities they have had. Whether you learn or not decides how many lives you have to live and what level you end up at in the universe. You can develop to live on a higher level of intelligence. On Earth, you use only 7% of the brain, which is why you are not able to understand the system of which you are a part. You do not understand the universe. You do not know where you come from, why you are on Earth, or who created the planet. And you have lived on Earth for so long without understanding what it's about. You're really left in class. You should have learned a long time ago. You are still on a barbaric level and cannot live side by side without war and arguing. This is not a high intelligence level. Every single day there is something you can learn. And everything that happens in your life day by day, you can learn something from. The smallest little thing that happens, it might seem like a trivial or something that is not important. Very often people live in self-denial and do not even see that they need to learn. And in the narcissistic world that you now live in, most people think only of themselves. But they do not think in depth. They do not think in depth about things. And then they live a superficial life. I can tell you that the higher up on level you get, the harder the trials become. So the people who experience many difficulties are often at a higher level. Because they endure more than others and therefore they are put to tougher trials than others. So the African child who crawls around without legs can be at a much higher level of intelligence than the best surgeon in the city. Precisely because it's about learning, and when you have the unit learning, you get a greater understanding and are able to understand more and more and more. As I said, you are all at different levels of development, but you all have to go through the same thing. And this is very important that you understand. Because when you understand this, you will understand that you cannot judge others. For you all must learn, and you must all learn the same thing. There is no justice in one life. Therefore, you must live many lives. So you must all experience a life as the rich lawyer and a life as the poor child in Africa or the worst killer from New York. You all have to go through the same thing, but through several different lives. It is only in this way that you can learn. So when you have lived several lives, become a mass murderer, the rich lawyer or the poor child in Africa, plus many other lives with different experiences, then you get the opportunity to obtain learning in different areas, and you have been given an opportunity to obtain more understanding. The more you understand of yourself and other people, the more you will understand of the system. The most important thing is to have self-insight. If you do not understand yourself, then you cannot understand others. So it is important to start with that. There is no point in elevating yourself above others because you are all equally valuable. You all have to go through the same ordeals. Some spend more time learning than others. You have to imagine this school. It is really a school. You get in different classes. Some go to second grade and others to 7th grade. We are talking about the universal school, which is based on doctrine and which takes place on your spiritual level. It's not so strange that if you go to 7th grade and meet people who go to 2nd grade, you might think that they are a little bit stupid and that they do not understand things. You probably do not want to choose 2nd classes as friends because you do not connect with them. On the other hand, when you meet others who go to the same class as you will feel a stronger understanding. And if you know them from past lives, then you will also feel a stronger connection to these people. But even if you go to the 7th grade, do not look down on those who go to the 2nd grade because you have gone there yourself. You should rather help the younger souls up than judge them. The higher level you are at, the less you will look down on other people. The higher level you reach, the more you will understand. And if you are at a very high level, you will not be a warrior. You will think more logically and you will be aware of the other paths. And you will make your choices based on your level. The system is complicated but also very simple. Everything that happens to you, you should learn something from. Every time you experience something difficult, it's just something you have to learn from it. Ask yourself, what should I learn from this? When something happens to you, ask yourself, what should I learn from this? When parents lose a child, they often wonder, why is this happening to us? This is very common to think, but it's precisely the doctrine of what is so important. And this can be determined in advance, certainly before you were born, and by yourself. We'll talk more about this later, but what is important now is that you understand that you are going to a school and that you are not worth more than anyone else. And that you all have to go through the same thing from life to life. And that the whole meaning of life on earth is to learn and grow and be able to develop yourself to a higher level. And finally, we want to say that why war never ends on earth is because humans refuse to evolve. They choose to greed over considerations and love for their fellow human beings. They choose to live many lives on earth instead of a few. They refuse to develop as well as to learn. That's why you are still at war. You do not choose opportunities that could have made you all a big family. Because that's what you are. It's time to grow.